There's been so many quick developments in the mortgage and housing space. So let's break it down. We have constantly falling mortgage rates because, let's face it, the biggest possibility is the Bank of Canada is going to cut 50 basis points, 0.5% at the next meeting, and rate cuts are going to become very aggressive. We could easily have a variable rate in Canada in the middle of the summer or late spring next year. It's going to be in the mid to low threes. We're going to have all kinds of 5-year fixed rates, not just high ratio, not just CMHC mortgages, but we're going to have all kinds of 5-year fixed rates in the 3% range in the next couple of months, next couple of weeks. So we couple that with the changes that are coming up on December 15th for CMHC limits, where it's going to be possible to put 10% down on a much bigger, over $1 million. Okay, no problem. All the way up to 1.5 million, 10% down. It's going to get some interest. Obviously, some people are going to make use of it. So what should we expect in the spring? Let's face it, it doesn't look like this fall is going to be some huge, no matter what realtors are telling you, no matter what you see on TikTok, no matter what you see on Instagram about, hey, if you don't buy now, you're doomed. Houses going to the moon. Okay, like all the crazy realtor bullshit and half of the mortgage broker incredible bullshit from them on TikTok and Insta. But look, the reality is, so far, things are getting a little busier in the housing market in British Columbia and Ontario, but it's not booming. I mean, it's not all of a sudden like it's becoming great, because the truth is the economy's pretty shitty, affordability is hard, and these rates aren't 1.99 like we had in 2021. Okay, so to sum up, there is going to be some reasons why after December 15th, and once we get more and more rate cuts in 2025, by the time we get to 2025, we're going to be definitely feeling the effect of the rate cuts in mortgages and in prime rate. So we're going to see a boom in the spring. Is real estate just going to go crazy in the spring? Look, here's the key thing to understand. We have developed a huge divergence in real estate products in this country. We've got way too many dog crate condominiums in Ontario and Vancouver. Way too many. Like, there's going to be like 40, 50,000 more in the next 2 years. They're just, the cranes are in the air. The buildings are getting built. And the truth is that, even with rates in the 3% range, they don't make any economic sense for an investor to buy. They're just too expensive. They're like, right now, condominiums are selling sort of in a desperation mode for about $900 a square foot. And that could slip. Like, it started at $975, $950, $925. Now it's $9. It could get into the $8s soon for people who are desperate to sell their little dog crate condos because the rents don't make sense and the prices are going down. They're not going up. So people could be desperate to sell some of those units. And there's more and more and more coming, particularly in Toronto. So there's price pressure on those units that are going to be very clear right into the spring. Like a 3.5% rate doesn't save the high, by the time you put in the property tax, and by the time you put in the condo fees, it doesn't make sense. You can't rent it for what you're paying. So you're losing money and the price is going down. Like, who the hell wants that? So there's tremendous pressure on that product, those small condos, for investors. And investors are a huge, huge percent of the market. So they're so much bigger than they were even 10 years ago. So the truth is this. That part of the market could easily can have continuous pressure on price and not become a good deal for anybody, those tiny condos. Now, totally different for low-rise, for single-family, for townhouses, for semi-detached, all that stuff. In Ontario, they effectively stopped building them about 8 years ago. I know. What do you mean, Ron? That's bullshit. No, it's not, because when you study the numbers of housing starts, you find out that for the last 8 years, more than 50%, some years 80% of the new housing starts have been high-rise. They have not been low-rise. They have not been houses and semis and townhouses. So we have failed to build that product, and that is still the aspirational product that the majority of people want. That's the house most people wish they could have. They can't afford it because that house prices, particularly in Ontario and British Columbia, are batshit crazy. But that's what they want, and there isn't any. So we haven't built any of them. We haven't built anywhere near enough. And 14 months ago, we stopped building pretty much altogether in the GTA. There's nothing getting built for the last 14 months. So we have created scarcity. We have created a fact that, if you could possibly find a way to buy one of these, you could. Don't get me wrong. Some prices have fallen. People who would overbid went crazy on bidding wars in 2021 out in the outskirts of Vancouver, deep into the Fraser Valley, and all around the 905, the far reaches of 905. People overpaid badly, and those prices have crashed. I mean, some people have lost 25% of the value. They paid $2.5 million for a single-family home in the far reaches of 905, and you could barely sell it for under $2 million now if you're lucky. So yes, some people have already felt that effect, but there's so few of those houses. That's about the limit of how far they're going to fall. So the truth of real estate in Ontario and British Columbia, I know I keep talking about those two provinces, but they're 52% of all the people who live in Canada. So that's why I talk about them a lot. So we're going to see that divergence. There could continue to be real problems with tiny condos, but it's possible in the spring we'll see a little bit of price firming up in the single family, the townhouses, and the semis. And I think that is something we should be watching for spring of 2025.